Hello, future client. Today I'm going to be talking about an article from the Strategic Finance magazine called Ethical Workplaces Attract the Best and Brightest. This article is by Passard Dean, and I'm going to be presenting it for you today. The first thing that Passard talks about in his article is how to cultivate an ethical culture. The first thing he says is that it takes some key players to create this ethical culture, those being management, accounting, and finance leaders. It takes a team effort from all of the leaders within an organization to create and sustain an ethical culture. He then goes on to ask what are the benefits of having an ethical culture? Well, for one, you retain the best people because they see that ethical culture and want that in their work and in their lives. And then he also mentions that you avoid reputational damage because people are living right, they're living an ethical culture, and they share that, and other people see that, and so your reputation speaks for itself, and there's not damage to it. And then he asks, well, how do you achieve such an ethical culture? And the first way, the first step, a good place to start is core values. And an example he gives for core values is the St. Leo University. And that university talks about, these are its values: excellence, community, respect, personal development, responsible stewardship, and integrity. And I won't go through each of those individually like he did. You can read that for how they went about accepting and instigating those core values. But it's important for you to have core values and to apply them into every aspect of the organization. And one way St. Leo University did that is they talked about these core values in each of their courses, and like had assignments and things that help them focus on these core values and apply them into their daily work and study lives. And so they were really prevalent within this college, and that's how it should be within organizations as well, in order for them to be successful and for that culture to start to develop and be created. Passard then goes on to talk about tone at the top. The leaders set the tone for everyone else in the organization. If leaders aren't following those core values or those ethical standards, and if they're not focusing on them, then everyone else tends to follow. So the leaders are so important. One way that they can set that example is by not tolerating misconduct of those ethical of the ethical culture or the core values, and then being consistent in the consequences for unethical behavior. Because if they treat one person different than another person, then people notice that, and people get upset because you treated one maybe more fairly in their eyes than another person. And so you need to be consistent in the consequences that you give for unethical behavior. Not playing any favorites. And then another important one that leaders need to do to set that example is to be transparent in their communication. When you're transparent in your communication, you try and clarify and be very clear about the things that are happening in the organization, and that helps those that are in your organization trust you and lets them know what's going on and gives them the tools to do their best work. The next part Passard talks about is to make ethics routine. I like this quote that from little things, big things grow. It's significant to have a daily education on the core values, on the ethics of your company. And one way you can acknowledge the ethics and have them more a part of your daily life is by acknowledging people who do something well. An example he gave of a company that did that, found that because they lived an ethical culture, they didn't want to fire people when times were hard, and so they were able to create a benefits package for those who were retiring, and that benefited both the retirees and the rest of the organization, because they then were able to make the cutbacks that they had to without firing them. They took the benefits package, and it was a win-win for both the organization and the people. And that's just one example of a good thing that can happen from having an ethical culture. There's countless opportunities to make that a part of your daily life through discussions, meetings, interviews, and hiring. Then he ends with just reiterating that it starts with the leaders, and an ethical culture can help bring the best and the brightest. Thank you for letting me share with you today, and look forward to hearing more from you.